Soul Journey of Life on social media.
This is an awakening.
Snap out of it! Thought-provoking, challenging the popular perspectives, critical of today's opinions. We go all the way in deep. What's a thought's worth if thoughts must conform to ill-conceived theories and so-called orthodox beliefs, twisted opinions of hypocrisy? How do we reach new heights? Ascend to higher realizations, activate the powers of abstract reasoning. We must break the chains that hold us down from celestial flights. Face what you think you know with what you have yet to know. For the moment, never mind how you believe things ought to be. We must revolutionize our minds for there to be a clear way to unify. For that to happen, we must have a seat at the table all over again. Just making sure the light works. Unlock the keys of scrutiny. Revive what it means to pursue knowledge. Manifest the God in we, you and me. Welcome to your wake-up call. Soul Journey of Life. Conscious Black social media. The light dome.
Quest man, a chosen.
Need help minding your own business? Cardamom cloves, nature's teas. From the shops on Soul Journey of Life. Blessings in every cup.
There we go. Welcome back. This is your brother Abdul Wadud, aka Questman, coming at you live once again. Soul Journey of Life, Conscious Black social media. And among the things that we intend, we want to continue on with the reading of the title that you see here, The Dead Are Rising, The Life of Malcolm X by Les Payne. But before we do that, there's a few things I would like to express and deal with of matters that have been going on in the community, and then afterwards we will get into the reading. Before I start, let me greet the viewers by saying Salam Alaikum wa Rahmatullah, Shalom, peace and blessings, Hotep, and I hope that the family is doing well and that you will be kind enough to like, share, and subscribe this live, and show your support to the platform. I want to put this disclaimer up here because we want to use any content that is not of ours with fair use intended. So let me start off. As I've been looking at some of the things that I want to talk about briefly, a song from Brother KRS-One came to mind, and it really echoes my response to a lot of things that are going on in the community today, and kind of what do I want to say, taking a big place in our attention in social media and so on, as it regards to the black community. But if y'all know anything about hip hop, you're gonna know about this song. So let's take a moment before I really get into anything, and shout out to Brother KRS-One. Hopefully the brother won't mind me, representing this song right here. And I hope that that the viewers will enjoy this, kind of take you back moment. You understand? Check it out. This one's called, it's titled The Truth.
It's not natural if it goes against God. It's not factual. Her truth is not hard. It's not natural if it goes against God. It's not factual. Give me the truth. Listen to the lyric as the negative is shrinking. It's shrinking out your life when you decide to change your thinking. One of the first things we gotta switch around, of course, is Jesus Christ and him dying on the cross. You're looking at the cross, surrounded in this mystery, with Jesus on the cross in total misery. Now separate Jesus from the cross so you can see the truth about the cross, and the cross is history. The cross was created by the Roman government. Its only purpose and use is capital punishment. But Jesus Christ was all about the revolution, while the cross was used as Jesus Christ's execution. See, what if Jesus Christ was hung upon a tree? Upon every church wall, that's exactly what you'd see. If Jesus Christ was shot in the head with no respect, we all have little gold guns around our neck. If Jesus Christ was killed in an electric chair, now get it, you'll be kneeling to the electric chair with Jesus still in it. You gaze upon the cross and you see the execution. You yell, stop the violence, but the cross is still used. It's not natural if it goes against God. It's not factual. Her truth is not hard. It's not natural if it goes against God. It's not factual. Give me the truth. So I say, listen, open up your third eye vision. God is not down with religion. Religion, they be selling it. Listen up, God is intelligent. Reading up the Bible is irrelevant. You gotta look within yourself, not a scripture. KRS-One comes to rearrange the God picture. If you sit and believe, you can't achieve. If you sit and accept, you don't know what's correct or incorrect. Take, for instance, Adam and Eve, the first two people on the planet, or so you believe. Their first time at having kids, they had Payne and Abel. Now let me show you why the story's unstable. According to the story, according to what you believe, there was only Cain, Abel, Adam, and Eve on the whole planet. Now use your intellect and tell me, what did Cain and Abel do for sex? Upon the whole planet there was not another. Could it be for sex? They were looking at each other. Hold up, I thought the church wasn't into that. But wait, still yet there is another fact. How did the world get populated? Now tell me if I'm wrong, but obviously Eve had it going on. Think for a minute. I know it gets notorious, but yo, G, check out the chorus. It's not natural if it goes against God. It's not factual. Her truth is not hard. It's not natural. If it goes against God, it's not factual. Give me the truth.
Yo, bring that back. I want to say something on this last master session. Yo, this is Rich Nice. Y'all brothers got to stop treating these hoes like nice girls, and these nice girls like hoes.
True indeed. We like to welcome the rebirth of the goddess. Word up, because it's all about knowledge itself. Yo, Busta Rhymes, why don't you take the session over from here?
Yes, indeed, family. I'm back. I wanted to start off with that because I got a few things that I want to express that I'm looking into the when it comes to the media today. Now, I'm like I said, I often I don't get too much deep into the politics of the establishment because when something is built on racism, it's kind of hard for me to believe that it's possible for us to vote our way into prosperity when it's not designed for us to begin with. So, whether it be the right hand, the left hand, the Republican, the Democrat, it's all the same to me. It's just one hand of the same body versus the other hand of the same body with the design, in any case, to manipulate us and to push us into agendas that have nothing to do with us at our expense as a people. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I was looking at this brother Justin Pearson. Now, I'm not going to sit here and dump on Brother Pearson and his political aspirations or whatnot. But what I am going to deal with, or try to at least speak out about, is how this system continues to use us and manipulate us for its agenda to break us and divide us and to humiliate us with um, an abominable uh, cultural state. You understand? An abominable way of life. And they will use our cause. They will use you know, our struggle, not for the benefit of us, but for the benefit of their wicked aims. And all I did was just type the name and seeing, I had been looking to see how the brother had been doing in Tennessee, and here I come. I look at the top line of within the past 8 hours being the title being Justin Pearson roasts the GOP's transphobic bill, which right there again you can see that same aim, and he may not be aware of it. I'm not sure if a lot of politicians from amongst our people that get into this arena, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But sometimes I feel like people who may themselves be good, well-to-do folks get manipulated and used for the aims of the establishment. And the establishment can recognize when you have strengths and skills and you're talented and things like that, and say, hey, we could use this guy. Let's go ahead and massage this person's ego, get them out there, and let them do our legwork for us, um, through the guise of, like I said, black interests and things like that. We've seen this before. We've seen this even in the form of presidential elections and things like that. We've seen this play out again and again and again. Whenever they want a certain aspect of their agenda to be on our attention, they make sure to sway us on between either hand. Whether it be the right hand or the left hand. It's all based upon where they want us to be positioned as a people. If they want us to be positioned um, with warlike ideals, then they're going to make the left hand seem like they're out of place, like they're ill, uh, corrupt about shenanigans. If they want us to kind of fall back and get draped off into our own ego and forget about things that are relevant, then they'll start to sway us to the left. You understand? So either we get uh, rocked to sleep or punched to sleep, one or the other. Right hand, left hand, same body. And so I was looking at this, and I'm just saying that as for me, I could never participate where I have to decide between morality and someone who has my likeness, um pushing for a position or whatnot. And again, like I said, I'll say this: I don't know this brother's intention, but I do know that when people run or people do something, I evaluate what their stances are. You understand what their positions are. And I feel that if you are authentic, about yourself, about your principles, you don't sacrifice that for nothing. um Even if it is to appease. So it's not the same as, for example, knowing we know that we're in a land where there's various races, various colors and creeds, but I believe that there's a way that a person could be tactful and strategic and represent all people that are involved in their community without sacrificing your values. If it causes you that, then perhaps um, this isn't something you should be involved in. But the people should never be pressed to accept something while at the same time tagging along with it things that would sabotage your values, your principles. I understand. I mean, even here, this is so ironic or so odd because the title is Justin Pierce roasts the GOP's transphobic bill. How do you roast? How do you roast a transphobic bill? And what is transphobic anyway? I understand that, when you deal with somebody that has a phobia, that means they're afraid of something. They have a fear of something. But are we to say that people who have spiritual values, moral principles that they live on, and traditional uh, ways of life that they've been living for many, many hundreds of years that they hold on to, that makes them transphobic, or do they just have these values? If you look across the sea, for example, representatives of this country have been trying hard pressed to convince African leadership to accept this so-called trans way of life. And the African leadership is like, nah, because the majority of us don't get down like that in this country. And they're just not going to do that because they know that they have long-standing traditions. Now, whether there's political motivations involved, that's neither here nor there. But there's only so much that people can take. You understand? There's only so much that people will tolerate when it comes to stepping on the turf of principles and values. But that said, at the same time, I will say this about this particular brother, that I believe that our people need to look out for his safety. Why do I say that? Because there is like a type of energy that, whether a person knows it or not, that comes with people who are intelligent, who are eloquent with their ability to communicate, um, that for some reason agitates certain elements of the power that be. Or if it doesn't agitate, they see, you got to understand how devils work. They put certain pieces in play with corrupt motives, ulterior motives, that
could be at the expense of someone's life. Let's use this person for our aim. And here you are thinking that everything is cool. The next thing you know, someone's assassinated, someone's life is taken, or someone comes up missing or whatever, because that was part of the scheme all along. You understand? To build up a case for whether it be martyrdom, or a case for some type of what do you want to call it, pity or sympathy for something. So like let's say a person was running for something in the black community. The character of the person was something that black community members might aspire to see. Who amongst us doesn't like seeing an intelligent black man who has an eloquent potential, a talent, who's talented, or a black woman who's talented with potential. But imagine the same people being used like puppets on a string, and then once they have uh, reached a certain point, they continue to be used, but in another way. Now that we've gotten you feeling, you love these people, you care about them a lot. We've got your heart. Now let's take their life, and then whatever that person was covering, or whatever, what if you could think of it, whatever the contents under the umbrella of whatever they were standing for, all of that you begin to sympathize with, you begin to uh, feel some kind of way, and that becomes their theme. They did this with Martin Luther King. Many of us know that Martin Luther King really, truly was a revolutionary. He wasn't a soft person. He, had some principles that derived from his religious uh, upbringing, but that's to be expected, because a lot of folks a lot of us that grew up in a church environment or something in that nature. So we know that what that brings about. But what I'm talking about is what they did with the brother after he had already passed. Every time you hear Malcolm X, you're going to hear the "Let Freedom Ring" speech, or something passive, something docile, something that makes that emphasizes us chanting and waving banners and doing nothing actively. And you'll get that championed over true revolutionary stratagem. You understand? And so they use us. What I'm getting at is they use us like chess pieces. And that's why I'm saying that we need to that those that are concerned, they need to communicate, they need to find a way to communicate with this brother and build with him. And if that isn't possible, at least look out for the brother, because like I said, we're dealing with devils who there's nothing they won't do. That's what they've proven. If the last 500 years hasn't been enough to say anything, there's nothing that these devils won't do. I mean, if they could have islands where they sit there and drape off children to use and abuse them or whatnot, and this is a thing, and they've got ceremonies, all kinds of stuff that these people will do, then I wouldn't hold anything, uh, you know, I wouldn't count anything out of why they're so hard on, why they're going so strong at exalting this brother in the political arena. You understand? And it's clear that they've got him, you know, locked in on this tagline, because I've heard a few of the speeches, and it's always interesting to me when people could be like, black this, black that, black this, black that, transphobic, black this. They'll slide that on in there and keep it moving, keep the conversation flowing. Like, wait a minute, you just said this. What about this? But they'll slide it in there as if it fit, as if it belonged. Black, 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 transphobic, black, 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 black. They fit it in there like it belonged as a part of, like it was, like it's of the same what do I want to call it? Same atmosphere, same thing. LGBT, black, LGBT, like that. They'll just slide it in there. It's not the same. The cause that our ancestors lost their life for, the cause that many of our people are losing their life for today, has nothing to do whatsoever with their sexual preferences. But it has everything to do with who and what we are. You understand? And what that really means. It has everything to do with what we have gone through, what we have lost, what's been taken away from us. Before anybody was concerned about our sexual interest, they took away from us our identities. You understand? To this day, to this very day, we still haven't come to any kind of agreement with who we are. And we've even become more divided with trying to explore that. I mean, you can't go far on YouTube with so many different formulas or historical talks, you understand, talking about our origins and where we came. And this is not to say any of these talks are false. I believe that there's truth in what the Hebrew brothers are saying. I believe there's truth in what the Native Americans. I'm talking about when I'm saying Native Americans, I'm talking about the black brothers and sisters who ascribe their origin being here before before the so-called slavery or whatever. Pan-African brothers and sisters, uh, um, you name it, on and on and on and on. There's validity in each of their claims. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to go so hard at it. They wouldn't be able to go so hard with the research. Each has very strong, solid basis of research backing up what they're saying. So I have to, as a person, as a student of knowledge, I have to take in consideration all claims on deck. All claims on deck when it comes to who we are and from where we came. Um, I mean, I'll tell you, I did, some genetic tests and things like that, which for the most part puts me overseas, right, as far as my ancestry. But what I'll say is, like I keep saying to folks, that at one time, if you were to rewind the clock back 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, we were the only people here. As far as human beings are concerned, there wasn't a such thing of this non-melanated being. They didn't exist. They didn't exist anywhere. I'm talking about this particular species of so-called human, mankind. They didn't exist. They trace all the way back. If you look in their studies, they'll trace it all the way back to 60, 70,000 years at the most. But even as a people, as a civilized people, they've only been that for 6,000 years. They've only been that for just under 6,000 years. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that, we need to be mindful. We need to be mindful. We need to look out for each other. We need to keep looking out for each other. That brings me to another matter at hand. Not related to Justin Pierce in any kind of way, but related to our paying attention to the things that go on in our community, right? And again, this is all, with fair use. So you may know that this young man, Ralph Yarl, is a victim of a shooting. If you can recall, this particular young man was coming to pick up his siblings, and upon knocking on the door of the wrong house, he was shot at by a white man who lived inside, without any questions, without any announcements, nothing, just boom, shot. And while there are people, if we read, there are groups that might see this as it was some say that it wasn't racially motivated, right? Some say that it wasn't about whether Ralph was black or not. It's just that somebody was at his door and he was shooting. He didn't know who was there, whatever. I don't believe that. I'm just going to say it that way. I don't believe that with me understanding how these people operate. Like I said, I don't hold nothing, and especially with this being an old school white man, you understand? You know, coming from an environment, coming from a day and age where we probably were looked upon lower in his youth than perhaps today. I'm just saying. I'm gonna just put that there. But regardless of whether this is considered racially motivated or not, I believe that we as a people must be racially motivated, and and see this as a racial based interest. We must be there for our own, is what I'm saying. In other words, what happens to one, we should always we should be of the mind to get to the bottom of it, right? To get to the bottom of what's going on, no, regardless of what. If it, let's say, it was an accident, like let's say somebody's walking and you hear a street. It happens to be a white driver, and they hit a person, a brother or a sister, and they hit the person, and it was an accident. They get out and they let it know, hey, it was, oh, my bad. I didn't know you were. I didn't see you. We still got to find it. We need answers. That's the kind of mindset we should have for one another. That when something goes down, whether it is what it is, or it's an accident or something, we need answers, and we should be all up in trying to, fact find and things like that. This is the way every other community is. Every other community, family, is Let me do this. Every other community that you find in the states, in the United States or abroad, when something goes down against their people at the hands of some other people, they're going to be at the embassy. They're going to be, at wherever the seat of government's at, or wherever the matter is being dealt with. They're going to be there asking questions. They're going to be there demanding answers, and in many cases, compensation. We're like literally the only people on the face of this earth who don't respond in this way as a people. We're the only people who do this. Nobody else does this. I'm telling you, let this brother have been a Korean. Let this brother have been a Palestinian, or the JE people. You understand? Let the JEW people. Let him have been any one of these people, and the headlines will be completely different. The headlines would be completely different. That old man, I mean, there would be some type of compensation going on right now. You understand? It would have been the case would have been over with. There'd been compensation, even if he didn't go to jail. There have been, look, you're gonna have to pay up something. Something's gonna have. We need the house. We need the car. Whatever it is, until give what's due. That's just the reality of what would have happened. But it's only us who, for some reason, we don't identify ourselves as one people. We don't see ourselves as one people yet. And I'm saying in a way that is effective across the land, to where if something happened in New York, people in California have something to say about it. Brothers and sisters in California, well, wait a minute, hold on. What happened in New York to who? They did what to Yaya? They did what to I don't know, James? Hold on, we need answers. We about to come down to the state house now. We need answers, and not rest until answers are done, and answers in the form of this is another thing, another trap we fall into. We get to a certain point, and sometimes we're not even the victims may not even get compensated. They may get a formal apology or something, if that. Then everybody goes home, business as usual. Or let's say the person does go to court, gets found not guilty. Everybody goes home, business as usual. We're the only people who have this kind of response behavior when drama happens to us, when something happens to us. I mean, yeah, in today's time, we're becoming more responsive, more, uh, taking on for size. If we hear somebody got shot in the car by a cop, if somebody got shot coming out the store, or something happened, that's happened to us from someone else that's not us, we're becoming more conversational about it. But we need to be more than just conversational. It needs to be more than just a headline. It needs to be more than just, banners in the street and marching up and down, and, Al Sharpton lookalikes or whatnot, talking about it. There's got to be more than that. There's nothing against Al Sharpton, at least not on this level. But I mean, it is what it is. I use the examples as I see fit. When especially when it comes to those who've made it clear that, you know they're really not about uh, the unity of our people. Some people aren't about the unity of our people. They just sit amongst us to get information to tell their masters. They sit amongst us to get information to tell their masters. And the only time you'll see them is when it's lucrative to see them, or when they need to herd the cattle in a certain direction. Then you'll see these people. Oh, it's getting a little bit too tense over here. You go out there and tell them something. Get them to calm down or something. Get their attention on something else. Magic tricks, sleight of hand. So yeah, I'm just saying that, like this article right here. I was looking at some of the recent articles. I felt, I earlier this week I was going to talk about this on a different level, but sometimes things get under my skin when I read about them. Sometimes when I'm looking at things, when I'm reviewing things, and I don't like to, I don't always like to be all in the emotional state while I'm trying to, break something down. So I'm a little feeling, I still feel some kind of way about what I read, but I'm able to at least read this a little bit differently, with a different state of emotional state, if you would. Here for, and this is Fox 4 reporting this, for the people, mistrust after Ralph Yarl shooting. And the thing is about dealing with reports from these is it's never going to be it's never going to be reported the way it should, because we don't see things the same way. You understand? And in most cases, because they are tied to the system, they have protocol to abide by that nine times out of 10 is not going to be in our interest. So they're never going to speak in a way that would be what we as melanated people, as black people, will see as authentic, truly authentic. Like, yes, that is the way it should be said. They're not going to do that. It's always going to be something, some twist, or some ulterior objective behind the way they tell the story. Anyway, for the people, mistrust after Ralph Yarl shooting is the headline. A 16-year-old Kansas City teenager picking up his siblings knocked on the wrong Northland door nearly lost his life. Ralph Yarl survived the shooting, but the crime against a black teenager by a white man again raised racial tensions, and those feelings raised across the country. Fox 4's John Holt and Crystal Bell discussed the questions and mistrust that continues to linger on this week's episode of For the People. I already see, even just reading these few words, the moment being hijacked. The moment being hijacked. What I'm saying is, here is a moment where in continuation of ongoing events where blacks are continuing to be oppressed again and again at an alarmingly increasing rate in this country. And there has been movements and moves and voices from amongst our community increasing as well. I would imagine that the enemy is aware of this, and I would imagine that people in who do not have our best interest at heart would be trying to find ways to either contradict it or to redirect the energies. And so, once again, the, one of the best ways that they do this is infiltration, infiltrating the cause, infiltrating the movement and redirecting it and making it something else. One, by making you feel like, see, we're just here with you. We're on your side. We're supporters of you. And I'm not saying that there aren't people of other ethnicities that aren't actually supportive. But when you see something moved and pushed in the mainstream in this way, for me, that's all kinds of red flags. When you see people talking like they are cool with us, or like they understand the black pain, these are these are red flags for me, um, because historically it's always been things like this that would precede them hijacking the movement and then belittling, shaming, and locking up, arresting people who are about the real cause, people who are about the real thing. By you following this docile approach, this tail tuck, be a good Negro approach, then you begin to gradually ignore real revolutionaries and people who are out there really saying what's going on and really calling it as it is and giving the the right advice on how people should respond. You start ignoring those and instead favoring the people, the kumbaya people, and let's shake hands and dance and sway right and left in a circle. You start, inclining more to those people. And then after some time, you forget what it was all about to begin with. And they'll catch one of their popcorn leaders quotes, and that'll be the quote of the day. One of these puppet black politicians, they'll use one of their strong quotes, and that'll be what you see across the billboards and whatnot. So certainly there is conversation. There is a conversation about justice that is important, but it's not just any justice. This is the thing they're not wanting. It's about justice, particularly because this is a continuous thing for the black community. Because nobody else is in the position to complain about justice in the same way, because nobody else is experiencing it at the degree that the black community is experiencing it. You're not hearing a bombardment weekly of Koreans suffering from police brutality. You're not hearing a bombardment of Palestinians suffering from police brutality. You're not hearing any of that. It's like every week, there's another brother, there's another sister, black, 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 black. So why not be specific about the justice that you're talking about? Justice for who? Why can't you say justice for black people? Making sure, in my hope, that there is a conviction in the case. But for those of us not in the criminal justice process, it's really about how do we make sure that everyone can feel comfortable in every part of the city, which I think is a core concern leading this incident, Lucas said. And I'm just saying, okay, here we go. The Clay Community prosecutor and Kansas City's police chiefs each say they want justice in the shooting. Of course you do. The civil rights attorney representing Yarl has been critical on how the case is being handled and called for hate crime charges to be filed. Okay, we definitely want that. Hate crime statutes were created in Missouri and at the federal level to offer an additional protection to the African American community. That is, you know, they want to be specific, African American community that is often the target of racial violence. So, yes, it is important to pursue charges under the hate crime statutes that exist. Lee Merritt, your all family attorney your attorney and national and civil rights attorney said. So that's their attorney saying this. Okay. Now I think it stands to reason, and I actually agree with the Clay County prosecutor that the state and local statute would not be appropriate to this case and will create additional burdens that wouldn't be worth the rub because the current charges would get you life imprisonment. But this case is under the investigation of the Department of Justice. The dynamics and criminal component of the case have impacted the Kansas City community. Emotions are running high because y'all made a simple mistake. And this is a child that was shot at. One many people say they can relate to and can't grip what's happened. In short, I mean, no matter how you spin that ball, there was no reason why this young man had deserved to be shot. Not when, you know, in principle, you're coming, announcing, you're in the front door, and there's no sneaking going on. Nothing that would lead any right-minded person to believe something suspicious was going on. You understand? Nothing like that. So, and the fact that this man didn't give uh, the young man even a moment to explain himself or announce himself or you know, anything like that. So for me, you know, my heart goes to the family of young brother Yarl, and you know, I definitely am one of those who stand. Um, what do I want to say? Empathetic, sympathizing with the brother's cause, and that, you know, one that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, that, you know, I would desire for him a speedy recovery. You understand? And that even when that recovery does happen, that this doesn't become a moment that scars him for life. You got to remember, this was a young man. I believe he was about what, 16 years old? 16 years old. I can't recall. I believe he was 16 years old. Um, well, he was a young man in any case. I can't find it right now. Young man, a student. You understand? A student. And the reason why I say that you know, that my prayer would be that this doesn't become a moment to scar him, but if anything, a moment that he can look back and see the effects of his people looking out for him. You understand? And I'm not just talking about his immediate family, you understand, but I'm talking about the community of people in his own likeness, to where he can see that his people responded and made sure that we were behaving in the way that we should. We, you know, representing concern, representing alertness, demanding answers, you know, looking to get to the bottom of what happened. You understand? And not just letting this be another moment or some other moment that fizzles off into the past. Whatever has to happen, and I believe it should be at its most maximum um, effect. You know, I don't, for a person at the criminal's age, the person who pulled the trigger, a person at his age, I don't know that life is is the greatest punishment he could get. He's already heading out the door. He's already heading out the door. I believe there needs to be compensation as well. You understand? Monitor the entire family of Jarl need to be compensated, because the thing about being shot at is it does damage, and sometimes the damage and the effects of that damage may not manifest until time to come. And you've taken a child, you know, into a direction in their life because of this experience. You understand? And it could affect them with shock. It could affect him with just, you know a moment in his life that scars him. So this man just being locked away is not enough. I don't know what their attorneys are trying to get at, but the whole everything, every possible move, every possible uh move that could benefit the Yarl family is what should be happening. Every possible move, every possible compensation, because that's how they would do us. In general, I'm saying, not actually, they would do worse if the shoe was on the other foot. If everything was in, we wouldn't even be talking about this. We wouldn't even be talking about the old man. The old man wouldn't be alive anymore. If everything was in reverse. And this is how this, like I said, people want to try to make this a non-racially motivated thing. If that was a white little boy who had been shot down, a white 16-year-old boy coming to pick up his siblings, the whole conversation would be different. That man would be locked away. It wouldn't even be maybe not even locked away. He might not even be alive. You understand? Them country folks would have done come down, and if you look in history, you see how bloodthirsty they get, whether you're innocent or not, when they're trying to hunt you down and find you and drag you out in front of everybody and take your life, even if you're completely innocent. When they get into that bloodthirst, that bloodlust, there's no telling what they'll do. Anyway, I want to share something with you. A message from a brother that has been an active leader, an active boots in the ground brother in the community, who himself is now behind bars as the result of bogus charges that put him there. When you make the right moves, when you stand before the enemy in a way that shows power, that shows authority, that shows a sense of determination, the enemy tends to feel some kind of way about that, and they will do whatever it takes to remove you out of the public's eyes, to remove you out of society. If what you're doing is capable of motivating masses and not just in a frenzy way, but in an intelligent way, in a thorough way, in an authentic way. If what you do is able to move masses like that, to where people will do something, you understand, or have the potential to do something, you know, be it the right things to do, it doesn't matter. They need to. They see you as a a definite threat, and you've got to be removed from the public eye somehow, some way. And I know of a brother by the name of Grandmaster J, and I'm going to share with you a message from this brother regarding or directed to Brother Ralph Yarl. Let me I posted this on IG also. So if you look at my IG, and it's also on this YouTube community post as well. But I'll just put it up here again. So there we go with that. So in this message that's been passed to the people, passed on to the people, you see it say to the family and the young 16-year-old King Ralph Yarl of Kansas City, Missouri, who is expected to make a full recovery after being shot in the head for knocking on the wrong door. All praise to the Most High. You have our full support and continued prayers for a full recovery. Hold your head up high, young king. Grandmaster J. So there is that message passed on, and if chance, anybody associated with young brother Yarl, Ralph Yarl, does come across this is the message intended for him and his family. And I hope it will be a message, the message, the words that come from the community and come from ones like Brother GMJ, that is one that's inspiring and uplifting, and that you feel the sense of love coming from your community, from your brothers and sisters who are paying attention and who do want that you get justice, that you recover, that you heal, and that your family is able to restore a sense of peace in your life, in their life. So let's see here. That said, since we're going to continue on, I am going to take a moment for a bit of an announcement. Let me see here. Take a moment for a bit of announcement. If you have chance or time, go to Soul Journey of Life, the shops. Something I would encourage you to do. If you do so, you'll see a page that looks like this. You probably remember the advertisement associated with Nature's Teas. This is a new product, Soul Journey of Life, cardamom clove, and rose purple basil are the two teas that are on the market right now. And as you can see, we have a sale going on, $6.99. The retail price is $7.99. Get yours today while supplies are available. And you have the cardamom clove, and then over here you have the rose purple basil. And both of these, I will tell you, are very, very good teas. And, they are a representation of a good traditional experience. You understand? If you ever travel abroad and you sit with some of the brothers and sisters for a moment with their teas and whatnot, this is a flavor that you will remember. This is a flavor that will bring back all kinds of memories of all your travels to Africa. You drink this tea, you will you will remember. You will remember that soulful moment. You understand? Because that's what's intended by Nature's Teas. It's to bring back those memories. So yeah, go ahead, go to the shop, Soul Journey of Life, and get yours right away. Why wait? And at the end of the day, it's tea, for example, as we know, that helps us mind our own business. Anyway, let me quit. But get your Nature's Teas, family. Soul Journey of Life, the shops. All right. In addition to that, as we have been reading the book, the book, the Dead Are Rising, The Life of Malcolm X. This is a book that was of the many books recommended by Brother Grandmaster Jay during his current time behind bars. But there are other books, if you might be interested in reading further on your own time. Some of them we've gone across. Some of them we have not. But here I'm going to show you a list of other recommended books right here. And here you can see a message tagged with it. Shalom, UBKN. Grandmaster Jay sends his love and admiration to you all. Listed here are a few of the most recent suggested readings listed by Grandmaster Jay in preparation for his imminent return to us all. Facts over feelings will never be the same, as this experience has changed us all for the stronger. Our elevation continues. Join me in the evolution of the mind, body, and spirit. Thank you for continuing to evolve with me. Thank you for your continued financial support. See you on the other side of the psychological operation. Love you all, Grandmaster Jay. And by the way, for those who desire to show support, let me make that a bit bigger here. For those that desire to show support, you probably want to go to this website right here that you see at the bottom of the screen. That's justiceforgmj.com. And there you'll be able to find your way to the means to get more information about the matter. Also, there is a GoFundMe that is in support of the brother. And that's what the GoFundMe should look like. If you follow that, you'll get right to where you can donate. And your donation would be helpful to the brother's cause, as he is currently fighting an appeal process going on in the courts. So, yeah, these are no joke books. These are books intended for people who have a serious mind for reading and understanding something about our people, our culture, our past, our ancestors, and just some very, this level, next level knowledge. These, like I said, these are no joke books that you, once you pick them up, if you are a student of knowledge like myself, once you pick them up, you can't put them down until you've read them all the way through. And then even if you put them down for a moment just so you could take a breath of air, you want to pick them up again, because you'll be like, wait a minute, let me read that again. So here's some of the recommended reading material. And you can see right there 2 books that we've come across. The Blueprint for Black Power right there, you see over there, by Amos Wilson. And then, of course, the one we're getting ready to get into here shortly, The Dead Are Rising, The Life of Malcolm X. We're going to continue, I should say, reading that shortly. All right. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and take just a brief moment. Once we come back, we'll get into what we need to be reading. All right. Be right back, family.
Shout out to the NFAC, UBKN. You see the bigger picture, go figure. A strong black community just tastes bitter to the likes of little tykes blinded by the great white hype whenever we stand up to fight.
Wait, hold up. I got a question.
What's a life worth living when the world you're living is made up of so many who can't see the difference? Standing up for your own versus the hatred and bigotry in Atlantic makes to be for you and me. From sea to shining sea, the place is laced with the effects of the systemic races. So when the black man stands up, instead he's told to put your hands up, then he gets choked up and broke up. There's no love unless you be from among the docile, quick to throw in the towel, ducking and dodging to avoid fitting the profile. So I salute every black man and woman who understands the codes upon which we must stand. That reminds me, and I can never forget all those who
stood up, sacrificing the comforts of life just to defend your rights and respect it. Yet, where's everybody when it's time to really pull up and show up? Why can't we see that without true unity, there's no luck? Hold up, they locking the bulls who legally suit up and strap up. We gotta speak up and quit sleeping on the moves we need to take up. Wake up before your next on the list to get hemmed up. For real, bro. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J.
This is a shout out to the general, a hell of an individual, and this is really pitiful. Hey, put your ear to the stereo. I know this may be liberal, I'm hoping you listen close. And he stood up for the beat, so I hope you don't turn cold. This ain't no clout chasing, about racing. Oh yes, it's about racing. Don't say we bout making a couple outbreaks. But y'all say y'all better make sure he make it out. Say it's about Jake. We don't mind breaking down every barricade. State to the federal, we see a bunch of cannabis, a system full of animals. We thinking they can handle it. See, they got the right. Don't think you fighting just one, cause the righteous do come. I got a light with two, and they too dumb. Screw tight, but I'm about to lose one. See, we don't do front, no, we gotta do something. We coming with a new front, and that's a Trojan. It's a brand new revolution. We got a solution.
Love is unconditional. It's not something that comes with a guarantee. Unconditional love means that I don't expect perfection. Unconditional love means that I love you because you exist.
United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. The United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J. United States versus John Johnson. Free John Johnson. Grandmaster J.
You all said that you wanted this love affair, and I told you I would never forsake you or leave you. And I said that even if you turn your back on me, I would still love you. Because of that, I was always told that when you're doing things that please the enemy, you won't have a problem in the world. But when you're doing those things that please the Most High, then you can expect that your address will be the only address that the enemy has.
Okay. Just mastering the art of minding my own business, family. That's all. And my business is support of the Black community. And I'll just say real recognizes real. Shout out to Brother Bossman Blake for his participation and support in that song there that you just heard. Real recognize real is real that has brought many of us together, and it's real that's going to keep us together. You understand? And it's also real that's going to keep us away from those who are not. It's something about being real that's distinct from being not real, from being fake. So we have a task to do today, family. We've got to get in this book right here. Boom. So as you can see right here, this is the PDF version of The Dead Are Rising, The Life of Malcolm X. We left off on page 66, and we intend to continue right there where you see the 3 lines, the paragraph under there on page 66. If you have the PDF, open it up. If you have the physical copy, if you don't have the PDF, it's easy. All you have to do is just type in the title, and you'll see easy to download version of this. Also, it's on the different online shops that are available. So I'm just trying to make some space on my screen here. Okay, come on. Trying to anyway. There we go. My mouse wouldn't drag the window over there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it with me. Hopefully you can see those words. So let's get into it. The little ones spent the next month recovering in the nigger section of Lansing. The fire that had destroyed their home only reinforced the parents' drive to reside on land of their choosing. A little side note, see, when drama happens to real black folk, it doesn't make us become docile or weak. If anything, it drives in our determination to continue on with what we are striving for. It just makes it's like it gives us more motivation. You understand? Like, oh, you did that? Okay, I got you. It just motivates you even more because you know you're in the right. You are about the right thing. See, if you were about something shady or some type of shenanigan, the effects wouldn't be the same. You tuck your tail and go home like, oh man, we was in the wrong anyway. They got us. But when you're about the right thing, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, you did that to me, and all I was trying to do was just be. And you did that to me. All I was trying to do was just stand up and get treated just like you like to be treated yourself. That's all I was trying to do. That just that makes you even more motivated. Anyway, had to say that. Continuing. Trying to attain this primal element of the American dream of home ownership had cost them dearly as Negroes, both in Omaha and Lansing. Yet the couple, undeterred, purchased a 6-acre parcel with a stream running through it at 4705 South Logan Street, just south of the capital city. Our father was famous for moving into areas where we were the only black ones. Earl and Louise, eldest son, Wilfred, recalled of their harried childhood in 3 heavily segregated Midwestern states. Among a sea of compliant Negroes in the region, young Malcolm's family stood out in bold relief. And the defiant Earl and Louise Little, as with Malcolm in years to come, would, despite a terrifying price extracted, continue to pursue the American ideal so flagrantly denied black citizens. In other words, they're basically saying, we're going to live like everyone else, whether you like it or not. Do what you do. We're going to do what we do. This early influence is generally underestimated by chroniclers who overlook Malcolm's interaction with his parents, as well as with his siblings, most especially Wilfred. Key markers are laid down during this developmental stage. Psychologists note Malcolm's autobiography also downplayed this early family influence for the sake of crediting the whole of his development to the spiritual leader he would encounter post-adolescence. My pardon there. Back to that. I'm trying to scroll down a little bit. As has been described, American Negroes in the post-World War I years could not escape a bare-knuckled, state-enforced panoply of white supremacy at every turn. For the sake of sheer survival, parents generally felt compelled to groom acquiescence into their offspring, especially their male children. Earl and Louise, however, were separately predisposed quite naturally to rebel in their own way, and the Garvey Doctrine provided a philosophical platform for resisting the systemic bigotry they faced. So from the cradle onward, the couple proceeded to imprint their children with a genuine sense of racial equality. This uncompromising conditioning would reverberate years later as the defining trait in the life work of the adult Malcolm. Upon acquiring the parcel of land in December 1929, Earl dug a basement with a horse-drawn scoop. and set to plying his carpenter skills. By Christmas, he had enclosed the walls and completed the tar paper roof of the new family home. As time and money permitted, he would improve the structure in stages, while Louise continued cooking, housekeeping, and sewing clothes for sale. As the little ones, there we go, as the little ones would discover, Michigan's capital city was predominantly white. It's 57,000 residents, according to the 1920 census, included roughly 700 Negroes, or 1.2%, a presence that would double a decade later. Most resided on the west side, with a sprinkling of immigrants from Syria, mainly Christians. The core of this Negro group was stable, decidedly working class, consistently mainly of foundry laborers, janitors, cooks, and drivers. This sporty few gentlemen about town held down jobs as porters and hotel doormen, low-waged but showy in their go-button uniforms and epaulets. This dime store gentry, recently up from the South, had little appetite for any praiseworthy references to Africa, to say nothing of the broader UNIA pitch from Reverend Little, toning down the dark continent references. As a result of these suspicions, Malcolm's father struggled to expand his regional group beyond those loyal members retained from his Omaha and Milwaukee days. Lansing had, let me scroll this up. There we go. Lansing was decidedly a less urban city, and the locals who might have lent an ear, if only out of curiosity, were generally warned away from the uppity preacher spreading a West Indian doctrine and living with his family on the outskirts of town. Local shunning of the Garvey doctrine drove Reverend Little to focus his secular proselytizing far afield. Although the UNIA remained a viable force, it did not help matters that Garvey had been convicted of federal mail fraud and deported 2 years earlier. For the few Lansing residents who dared express interest, Earl organized weekend trips to Detroit, driving the miles eastward in the organization's black Buick sedan with the curtains swaying at the back window. During these Depression years, Detroit contended with Chicago for supremacy as the most desirable northern destination among Southern Negroes. Chicago had its slaughterhouses and meatpacking industries by the lake, while Detroit booming with a burgeoning automobile industry. At the center of the network of supplemental parts and service centers, in addition to immigrants flooding in from all corners of Europe, the Motor City attracted a steady flow of Negroes heading up from the Deep South with similar high hopes for a better life. The Littles, new manse, stood at a remove in so many ways from the home of the more typical newly arrived Negro family. The newly dug well on the family's 6 acres reflected an independent, though challenging, existence. The scrappy fourth-born Malcolm was contending with Filbert, who was 2 years older, for the middle spot among the 6 siblings. "Malcolm and I were always together," said Filbert, "even at night when we would go to bed. He was afraid of the dark. When he had to go to the toilet to pee, rather than get up and go outside or use the slop jar, as they used to call it, he would pee in the bed, and I'd get blamed for wetting the bed." A daytime tactic of the younger brother, perfected years later, had him tilting the odds his way with the threat of retaliation. "We'd fight," Filbert recalled. Like a Malcolm would always plant like a hammer or a stick or a bat, a club, and if you chase after him, he'd reach and grab the bat. If he didn't have the advantage, he'd run. "Children, I'm not trying to say we were monsters. We were close. So whatever trouble came up, we were both usually in it. Not surprisingly, the frolicsome boys were caught at pranks. Pardon me there. Such as stealing fruit or melons in the fields, yet spankings were generally reserved for sly disobedient and sloth and for botching assigned chores. Pardon me just a second here. Okay. Earl Louise ruled with an air of absolute authority and did not spare the rod, visiting swift corporal punishment on occasions. Think about that, family. Think about what I'm looking at here is the family structure, the traditional black family structure of those days. The male, the position of male authority, the position of female, the position of the children, the respect that the children were expected to demonstrate in the presence of the family, um, the measures of discipline, the orderliness. Certain things you can imagine would just not be tolerated at all. And compare what we're hearing about regarding their family structure here with what you see today in the broken family structure, where in many cases there's a single family, a single um, parent household. And often you find children aren't well disciplined, and sometimes they've completely lost their way on so many aspects, including morality. Just compare today's with then, and perhaps somewhere in there it will be plain to you that our society has been heavily poisoned. It will be plain to you that we are a people under attack and have been under attack for quite some time now. It's only that condition that would have led us from being a family based community to a selfish, self-centered, individualistic based community. It's clear that we've been under attack for some time. And it's also clear that part of the measures of those attacks were to put us to sleep so that we don't even recognize that we're under attack at all. You have to remember that we were in states of war prior towards even enslavement and things of that nature. There was state, and even during those enslavement states of conditions, we were fighting. War was still going on. There was no peace treaties or anything. War was still going on. And it's just amazing how we've been rocked to sleep during a state of war. During a state of war. But during a state of war, family. Rocked to sleep. Anyway. Continuing. Children were to listen and obey, period. Although Louise primarily did the spanking, she passed the more serious cases along to her husband, who would lash the children with a leather strap, wooden board, and switches from tree branches. Yeah, I get it. In a pinch, and I've experienced that. I know that life right there. I know that life as a little boy. In a pinch, his college laborer's hand would serve the purpose. Occasionally, the whippings had no discernible trigger and caught the child off guard. On some dark evenings, not even Louise was spared her husband's wrath. Their adult children later confided. Yeah, that's another thing and I don't agree that it was as common as people tend to make it out to be, that this type of experience they're talking about now took place, but it is something that you do read about in some cases. But what I can say, not that I support that this type of behavior happens, but when things are serious, when your family is at stake, when you um w- when people are behaving in ways that can destroy the safety, the sacredness of your family values, some people get pushed to doing whatever it takes to keep their family in line and to keep their family from breaking apart. Because after all, a broken family is a defeated family. And where do you go from there? All you have to do is look in today's times and see the things that are promoted rampantly and the things that are heavily encouraged amongst our people specifically. Like I said earlier, here we are with the black cause, the black movements and activist elements and whatnot. And for some reason, these abominable behaviors are so too often promoted and encouraged alongside the black cause as if they were on par and one and the same. Just saying, pay attention, family. That's all. It leaves no wonder why the first person to attack or the first person to make sure you get out the way when you're trying to destroy a people is the man. If you could destroy the black man, you've won the majority of your battle. If you can destroy the black man and assuage the ego of the black woman, what else is there? Who else is there to fight? Who else is there to fight? Because the children, that battle's easy for them. It's a matter of reprogramming their thinking, making them docile. And that's what you see clearly taking place today. A breed of docile blacks, basically, moving freely in society. And I'm just thinking about the matter. Like I said, these things for me, whenever I reflect upon the essence of our problem, whenever I reflect upon just how deep it goes, it's very um it makes me reflect. You know what I'm saying? It makes me reflect. Anyway, let's continue on. On some dark evenings, not even Louise was spared her husband's wrath. Their adult children later confided. A moody man of shifting fortunes in the outside world, Earl could be quick with the backhand when his wife displeased him, and he would often follow up with sustained physical and mental battering. Historically, in the United States, wife beating was not only common, but enshrined in common law as the husband's right of chastisement, a legal defense in the unlikely event that he was charged with assaulting her. By 1920, when women were first allowed to vote, that right was no longer legally recognized. But the all too common practice of spousal chastisement in farm families, black and white, remained a stark household reality of Malcolm's early childhood. With underlying differences in education, skin tones, and views on family regimen, the couple's disputes over Earl's travel plans, late nights, or simple household matters would flare into all-out domestic warfare. The color differential waves loomed in the air, with Louise's lighter complexion a seeming advantage. During one stretch, Malcolm wrote in his autobiography, "My mother was usually either arguing or not speaking to my father." Among the siblings, the two middle brothers were dealt with differently. My mother whipped Malcolm, Filbert said. I don't recall my father ever whipping Malcolm. I don't recall why. He'd say, Louise, and she'd get Malcolm and whip him. Occasionally, his mother would allow Malcolm to fetch the switch from a sapling for his own whipping. I remember those days too. I remember having to go outside and go to a bush or something, and I was told to get a switch and bring it back. And they would tell us don't get one too small, or they'll go out and get one themselves. And so we'd have to find one and pluck off all the leaves and whatnot and bring it back, and that was that. So again, I know those moments very well. When he applied with a leafy shoot, judged insufficient for the task at hand, his mother would order, yeah, see, his mother would order Malcolm back to the tree for a rod of higher caliber. Yeah. I, I'm just saying this was the real stuff back in the days. I don't think this generation could they wouldn't know. No, this generation wouldn't understand. They wouldn't because I see more. I don't want to say more, but I see the crybabies. I see, and I'm talking about adult crybabies. I'm not talking about children crybabies. I'm talking about adult crybabies who complain about some of the most simplest, minuscule, menial, whatever word you want to use, task. Here we are talking about black activism, unity, black unity, and all that kind of stuff. Something that requires every aspect of your energies to be involved, more than just posting up signs here and there. But many of us, I'm not sure that we're cut out for it. I'm not sure that we're cut out for it because we're not used to getting our hands dirty. We're not used to the heavy lifting. We're not used to, the type of what comes out of this kind of discipline. Just saying, we've got a lot of work to do when it comes to being able to accept correction, accept the need for improvement, accept being told something about ourselves, accept that, look, we don't know everything. There is always something that we can improve on. There is always something that we can learn to better ourselves. Sometimes that switch can make all the difference. Sometimes being, obligated to pick the right switch can make all the difference. Just saying, family, something to think about. His mother will order Malcolm come back to the tree for a rod of a higher caliber. Notwithstanding the absence of his father's heavier hands, Malcolm would not go quietly. Whenever his mother drew the assignment, he would stage a preemptive show for de-escalation. I would open my mouth and let the world know about it. He wrote about the spankings. If anybody was passing by out on the road, she would either change her mind or just give me a few licks. As with so many childhood traits carried forth, a besieged Malcolm will grow to master as an adult the preemptive tactic of motion and commotion. He was being he was growing up to be strategic already. Filbert was never so clever. My father whipped me, but I was the active one, he said. I was the mischievous one. Everyone called me mischievous. I had determined that when I got older, I was going to fight my father because when he whipped me so hard. He would hold me by my legs upside down and whip me. He was a big, powerful man. My mother would admonish him, Earl, you're going to kill that boy. Better behave then. Better straighten up. Quit playing around. Quit playing games. Anyway, um, I say he was a monster, but he was just a father. And in those days, particularly when a father was not highly educated, they beat you. Wow, you hear that part? Says when he was not when a father was not highly educated, they would beat you, implying that an educated father would probably be more philosophical with you. I would imagine, or the manner of discipline would be something more structured, more um, uh, constructive. You understand? More constructive is what I want to say. That's kind of how I am. I'm more constructive when it comes to the matter of discipline. I believe that if I, teach my children something they can learn from, you understand, and it's in the form of a discipline, but they will learn something from it constructively over time. And sometimes when you have some mischievous children, they're going to be learning a lot. They're going to be learning quite a bit. So it's a win-win situation. Um, the firstborn son somehow escaped much of the rough treatment. What a convenience! I'm the firstborn son of my family, so I understand that. But why I dodged some things, those things I didn't. And I think the reason why I was able to dodge some things is because they expected more from me. I mean, even to this day, my siblings, I'm like I guess the wise man of the family or something. I don't know. At least that's everybody when it comes to virtuous advice or how to's or why this or why that. I'm the one that gets called up for those type of things. In addition to, I broke my laptop or I broke what do I? In addition to that, but I can remember being um, kind of expected to be more uh, disciplined, more on code, and more responsible. And when I wasn't, when I would do something mischievous myself, like, well, I expected more of you. I expected more. You're the oldest. We expect more of you, right? As I'm being told to go out and get the new Switch. Anyway, I got okay. I'm gonna read. The firstborn son somehow escaped much of the rough treatment. Wilfred was well suited for his role as the classic eldest brother of a large working class family, which numbered 7 children. With the birth of Wesley in 1931, even tempered and selfless, Wilfred matured early with an instinctive sense of responsibility. There it is. Because of peripatetic Earl was grievously absent, Louise relied upon Wilfred to help manage the growing brood, increasingly vesting in her dutiful son the authority of family adjutant. I had a similar task in my family. While organizing the clearing of the garden and the barnyard, and just a little side note, if you were to see me and my siblings, the only reason why you would even know that we were related is because of our physical appearance. Outside of that, if you heard me talk and then you hear them talk, you would think, we were from 2 different parts of the globe or something. It's like our our dialect or our way of words is completely different. They sound like they from the corner of the street, like they've been living in the alley all their days. So I don't know how to put it, but we sound different. We sound very, very different. You know, I imagine that if you were to hear them talk, you'd have to beep out every other word that they would have to say out their mouths. Every other word would beep 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 beep. Yeah, and what happened? And this boop, he did that to me, and she was a boop boop. All through the conversation, like what? Anyway, that is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. Um, while organizing the clearing of the garden and the barnyard, Earl worked out a crop sharing arrangement with a neighboring Hungarian farmer with a larger spread. Seasonally, their acres were planted in lots of corn, potatoes, spinach, peppers, string beans, and squash. The Littles had a cow and a goat for milk, and chickens were raised for eggs, along with geese and rabbits. They also harvested white walnuts from the 13 butternut trees on the property and sold them bushel by the bushel at roadside, along with other crops that truckers would pick up on Saturdays and take to the market. I can this was in 1931. I'm a 70s baby, right? But I can still remember seeing my parents, my father in particular, doing, we were taken to Alabama. We had some family in Alabama. I think we still do. I just don't know who they are. I was a child then. And I could remember the farm. I could remember the chickens. I could remember the string beans. I could remember my father cracking walnuts and whatnot. Um, don't remember too much of the cows or goats, but I can remember the chickens and me chasing the chickens and being chased by chickens. Um, yeah, just a different life that many of the generations today might not, you know, uh, be able to connect with, perhaps, but it does make something out of the persons that have gone through this type of life, this kind of experience, seeing the hard labor, seeing the, you know, uh, the hand uh, level of work. You understand? Um, where, if something broke, you fixed it. In today's time, if something breaks, you buy a new one. If you crash your car, you pack it up, you buy a new one. If you break a computer, you buy a new one. Break a laptop, buy a new one. Break your phone, buy a new one. In those days, anything, break the car, repair it. You get people who, grease monkeys or whatever they want to call them. Everything got repaired. Nobody was buying anything new. It was repaired. Your clothes, little brother's going to wear them, so keep them in good shape. Don't get them too dirty or scuffed up. If they did get scuffed up or torn, they were getting sewn, and mama would sew them or grandmama would sew them. Um, your hat came from somebody in the family who knew how to knit. Your winter hat or something like that. It's just different times. Even when you think about like the internet and things like that, when you think about that versus you know our days of crashing the library and just banging the books at the library, um, and just going from person elders had something to say, and it just brought about a different learning experience. You understand? And I'm saying this because I think if you can try to relate to this, if we can remember, if those of us that can remember those moments, if they had a similar experience, then it makes sense that Malcolm was drawn to Elijah Muhammad like a fatherly person. It makes sense because we had a more personal experience with one another. We had a more person to person interaction. I can remember elders that I met in my life that I really had a great deal of respect for. When they talked, we all was silent. The rhyme stopped. We would be rhyming at the corner, just rhyming. Can you imagine little question man just on a porch step rhyming? The elder would show up, listen to us for a little bit. We'd all get quiet. And they'd say a little something, he'd say a little something, drop some jewels or whatnot. And we were like looking at each other like, man, yeah, it was deep like that. That was deep. What he said, that was deep. And, either we'd follow it up, we'd research it. Sometimes he would challenge us, we'd research it or whatnot. And you just grew a great deal of respect, for the elder like that, um, and I just see something different in today's time, especially when it comes to how we associate with our elders. You know, I think that certain experiences, when they're removed, they get replaced by something else that seems to be a bit colder. That's what I'm sensing. That seems to be a bit colder. When you look at the age of modern technology, the way the internet operates, AI based infrastructure, uh, tech infrastructure. It replaces something, and it may be convenient at the time, but something social, something spiritual, something sacred is being replaced. I'm just saying. Think about when was the last time a birthday celebration was really something special to you. I'm not just talking about a moment where everybody's just getting there to party, but where it meant something, even to go to a funeral, even whatever your holidays may have been, where you felt a sense of sacred uh, going on. You understand? When was the last time you had that experience? When you came to see your elders, you felt like, man, you were doing something deep. I'm just saying, family. These are different times that um, they're not entirely gone, but it's like a light that's growing dim, and just a select few are holding on to that light. Anyway, let's continue. Malcolm's father usually rose early and worked the fields, but at times his contracting jobs pulled him away from the farm. Without warning, he would drop everything and head off for unscheduled UNIA work or places unknown. Suspicions arose occasionally over the unexplained errands as the family routine put a heavy strain on Louise and the not yet adolescent children. My father believed in child labor, Filbert recalled vividly. He thought that children were for nothing but work. Every one of us had a chore. When I was too young to go into the garden and hoe without cutting up plants, I had to bring the water. Malcolm was younger than me, but he couldn't pick up a pail of water like I could, so he would bring the dipper. When we got older, we were working in the garden. We got up early in the morning. I had to bring in the coal. I had to go in the woods and pull out the old dead branches and chop them up for firewood. We had an old potbelly. I remember these things. We had an old potbelly wood burning stove. Work started from the day you could breathe and started early in the morning. I'm trying to tell you, family, different times, different times. When Malcolm's older siblings started primary school in Lansing, they trekked 2 miles through woods and cow pastures and across wooden fences. As the only black students in their classes, they were viewed by many as curiosities. All the teachers were white, and many had never seen Negroes up close. So they became an exhibit, pretty much. In January 1931, when Wilfred attended 5th grade, Malcolm was enrolled in kindergarten at the Pleasant Grove Elementary School. He was 5 years old. The family, as one of few Negro families in town and one self-assured and at ease with itself, got along fairly well with children of European immigrants, such as the Italians and the Swedes. But Malcolm would occasionally get into spats with native-born hillbilly students over matters involving race. As for the normal rough and tumble of the schoolyard, with fist fights and face downs, Malcolm and his siblings earned a reputation for sticking together. And just a little side note, I can recall that a part of my family, like my father, for example, my father would have been a clear Garveyite. He would have been a clear, you know, about that cause type of person. But then again, on my other side of the family, and even in some of his elders, some of them would have been like supporters of like W.E.B. Du Bois philosophies and whatnot. And I could see that through my family because it seemed like the people that were um, uppity and sophisticated, suburban lifestyles were people on that side of the family, and they behaved as if they were more wealthy and too good, and you know they never really helped anybody else in the family. Those of us who were like hanging on by a thread, they didn't care about any of that. And if they did, break bread with you, it was with a string attached. It was with, some type of expectation to come later. It was never charitable. It was, I'll get that back from you later and something. You understand? Like that. Um, so I could see, you know, the black ethics, the different sides. I could see how it played out in my own family when I sit here and think about it. When I think back about it, like my father, like I said, my father himself was a thorough, you know, uh, black activist of a sort, and I could recall him even getting into fights back in those days. Let's say you started mouthing off at the cops or whatnot, and they'd be like, "Hold on, let me." And he'd be like, "Why don't you take your badge off if you're so tough?" Then I can hear my father's voice. "Why don't you take your badge off if you're so tough?" Then they take, "Okay, okay, take your badge off," and they squaring up. You know what I mean? They squaring up out there. Boom, boom, boom. And my father knew how to use these. Um, More so than the need for the heat. Those are different times. But unfortunately, my father's life was taken by that heat, by somebody who uh, envied what my father worked hard for. Anyway, I'm just thinking, like I said, I'm just thinking, of how these values of the different groups, the different movements in those days, you could see them permeating the different parts of a family structure, even to this very day. It may not be so visible, but like if you could think about all of us who, every time movements that put boots on the ground, movements that demonstrate, excuse me, some form of sincerity to the cause. Every time we see someone like that, our hearts flare up. You see authentic brothers and sisters out there, whether it be local or abroad, your hearts flare up like, man, I feel these cats. And you are compelled to join the ranks and support, because when you see real, when you see thorough, when you see people not tucking their tails, biting their tongues, it makes you feel some kind of way. And then when at the same time when you're hearing these what do you call it, um Al Sharpton type talks or whatnot and all this other stuff, you're like, man, or what's that guy? I can't think of his name. Is Peterson. When you hear these kind of talk, Peterson, Reverend Peterson, all you're looking at these folks like, what? What planet were you born on? Because you're seeing what's really going on, and you're also seeing the only clear solution. And the alternative is not one that nobody who's a thorough person will ever accept. Becoming docile, becoming um a female dog is not an option for many brothers and sisters out here. So, and you see that played out again and again and again. And that tends to be where, to this very day, that tends to be where the biggest dividing lines remain. And that's why, anybody on the other side, they get that coon label, because that's what that's what it is. That's what it is. Um, I could just remember even as a young boy, always admiring people I felt were uh real, solid. You look like, oh man, they about the real thing. And I could just remember, when you see people that there was something off, we just you didn't want to be around them. You didn't want to be around them because you didn't want whatever that meant to rub off on you, or to affect you, or to tie you into being associated with those type of people. Like, man, I don't, you don't want to be, guilty by association. And today's time is definitely different, because I mean, today we're taught to associate with all kinds of people. So it's like the meaning of birds of a feather flock together. It's it's become hard to identify who's who in the picture in today's time unless you've got a keen eye. I believe that unless you've got a keen eye, it becomes very harder to identify the who's who in the picture. Who's who really. And so when you do meet brothers and sisters that are really of that flock that you are of, it becomes sacred, it becomes meaningful, and you end up having a great deal of respect for these ones. You understand? It's a breath of fresh air, a sigh of relief type of experience. Hmm. Give me a second here. That's page 71. Oh wow, 76. Let's try to read a little bit more. Continue on. The story of Little Black Sambo. Okay, yeah. The story of Little Black Sambo, published in 1899 by the British writer Helen Bannerman, was a standard children's reader at Pleasant Grove. The illustrations of the dark Indian child caused derisive snickering among whites, but the pickaninny slur, along with the unrestrained bandy about of the term nigger, repulsed the little children, who were taught at home to disparage such put downs of the black race. As the taunts escalated, it was their mother, Louise, who conditioned Malcolm and his siblings not to overreact to the racial slurs. We didn't like being called nigger, Wilfred said, but we would try to downplay it. My mother always told us that you can handle racial slurs in a way where you make them continue, or you can let them think they're not hurting you. She will give an example. If you're throwing darts at a dartboard, there's a satisfaction you get when you hit the target. When you miss it, you get another feeling. Well, she said it's the same way with white people. When they're throwing darts at you by the things they say and do, but if they don't hit the target, then they won't get the satisfaction, and eventually they'll quit. And usually that's the way it worked. This psychological training for resistance to racial provocation was conditioned into the behavior of young Malcolm and his siblings. Their behavior earned grudging respect among a growing number of whites in their neighborhood, despite, and in some cases, because of their adherence to Garveyism. And I will admit that for some time, I, I didn't have that caliber for some time when it came to, people saying certain things and, certain calling certain names, whether it be not really from when they called me names, but more so when they would say something to my family and I'm present. And, I would feel some kind of way like, wait, that's my brother you're talking about, or that's my sister you're talking about. Like you can say whatever you want to me about me, but this is my sister. She ain't got nothing to do with whatever you and I, whatever problem you and I are talking about. She ain't got nothing to do with that. He ain't got nothing to do with that. And the next thing you know, it'd be a whole nother level of something. Now, as I got older and a bit more, I don't want to say. Uh, Philosophical, you understand, a bit more philosophical with my life, a bit more metaphysical, a bit more spiritual, whatever you want to put out on that. um it made me become more contemplative of my approach with people, things people will say, and so I don't get as agitated. I still feel that sting when people I care about um are harassed like that. I still feel the sting. And But you learn ways to handle the situation and for a longer lasting effect. You understand? I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes a fight has to happen in a person's life, but sometimes you can fight in a way that the effects of it, the victory and the effects of it, are longer lasting. You know what I mean? A little street fight that might end that day, and then nobody thinks about it the rest of the time. Um, but sometimes when you get into a more intellectual battle, a more strategic battle, you know what I'm saying? You give that enemy something that they can remember for the rest of their days. They realize they mess with someone that this what they thought was just something they do and go home and care about their life, but nah, this was something that opened up a whole nother can of worms. Let's see here. And that's usually the way. It says that's usually, that's the key word. Is that's usually, and usually that's the way it worked. Let's see here. This psychological training for resistance to racial provocation was conditioned into the behavior of young Malcolm and his siblings. Their behavior earned grudging respect among a growing number of whites in their neighborhood, despite and, in some cases, because of their adherence to Garveyism. Some in Lansing attribute this accommodation with whites to the Caribbean side of the otherwise uppity little family. The West Indians in town indeed tended to band together. Louise and her children, for example, had established their strongest ties with islanders such as the Lyons family, who lived in nearby Mason, and the McGuire family. We felt at home with each other, Wilford said. One thing about the foreign black people, they were more aware of the international picture. When you get around other black people overseas affairs, sounds strange to them. I will agree, because it makes all the difference. The more your travel experience, the more your broader experiences are in life, the more it molds how you think about life, the more it molds how you think and deal with other people. That's why I encourage people to travel, get out there and see what's going on in the world, and see what's going on with your people at other places that they live. You understand? Go to the Caribbean, go to Jamaica, go to Nigeria, go to Ghana and Uganda, Rwanda, go to wherever we live, and just see what's what can be experienced from that, and it will affect how you think about the world around you. It will affect how you live in it, how you respond. You know, it refines you a bit. It really does. It refines you. Your quality of discipline, your quality of self-respect, community respect makes a difference. The Littles' experience seemed typical, as it did not go unremarked upon that whites got along better with the West Indian families than with native born Negroes up from the South. And I think that's partly because, the drama is different. You understand? Um, I think it's because, partly because also that many blacks from other cultures aren't looking at these folks for anything. But we've been so amongst these folks for so long, it's like, we feel dependent upon them. Like we owe them some type of explanation or something. When you look at these other cultures, other groups, they don't feel like you don't. They're not looking for an explanation from them. They move in, like when you see like the Somalis or other communities move in, they move in, and this is what we're doing. This is our thing. We're establishing ourselves, and we're going to operate in it. Yeah, we may be living in your land, but we're going to operate things according to our way. And they'll say, "Well, this is the tradition, brother. This is how we do this, brother." You go into their community, and they're doing things their way. They're not looking for any type of validation from the white man. But for some reason, it's like we keep going to these folks, seeking some type of validation, some type of approval, some type of permissions, something that gets them involved with our day-to-day life. And when things don't go, the way that we would like, we rightfully become upset because we start recognizing that this is not natural. This is not the way it should be. And we end up, becoming aware of our state of oppression, our state of, uh, not being treated equally. And so it gets real. But I really think we need to look at some of the examples of our brothers and sisters from other cultural communities and see that, see what's missing, see what's different. And at the same time, there may be some benefits. There are benefits from the experiences that we've had of our own self that we can benefit from that no one else can. And I think we're going to start seeing, I think as time goes on with the way things are going and the decline of this empire, I think we will start to see just how we will be able to benefit. Like I said, I believe that certain doors will open uniquely for us more so than anybody else in this country. Doors will open for us, but we have to pay attention to it and not let the moments slip by. Yeah. It says, indeed, Caribbean families like the McGuires and like the Littles, owing to Louise, were said to be more open and more neighborly, less uptight, agreeable, different. Our attitude made a difference in how they dealt with us compared to some of the other Negroes, said Wilfred. When white people find out that you don't have, see, they're just saying it right there. I could have just read that. When white people find out that you don't have the inferiority complex, they deal with you at the next level. It makes a difference. Meaning when you don't see them as better than you, like somehow you got to play the chase, and you're looking up to them, and they're looking. No, you make your way. You make some room for yourself in this place. Make some room, and insist that even if it gives you a hard time, I'd rather fight for my room, for my space, my right to have space here. Fight for that, and even die trying. You understand? Then feel like somehow I'm inferior to these people. I can never accept that. When I see my own people capable of doing just what they do, and in so many more cases, better, more, greater things, it doesn't make sense for me to feel inferior to any of these folks. Like I said, you make some you go wherever you go, make some room for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Make some room for yourself, and make enough room for yourself, and feel confident in that space you're taking up. You understand? And demand to be treated as anyone else who's taken up their own space. So let's see here. Yeah. I feel like don't need to feel like we owe them anything, or even entitled. See, that's even feel like we're entitled to anything from them. I say yes, demand reparations, but not because we have a sense of entitlement, but because you did us wrong and you owe something. You understand? Just like I was saying with accountability regarding young brother Ralph Yarl, whether it was racially motivated or not, it doesn't matter. This is one of our people. You committed a crime, and you owe. You owe. Period. There's somebody in this arena of the criminals has to be held to account, and it has to be more than a formal apology or something. It's got to be more. We need some compensation going on here. That's what we're talking about. We're not please give us please Can you think about giving us No, you owe us reparations, and we're going to keep on demanding it until you pay up. And it's long past due. You understand? It's long past. We're not asking for permission. We're demanding our rights. We're demanding what you owe us. This is what you owe us. And one way or another, whether we are empowered to get it from you or you willfully get it from you, you're going to give it to us. Bottom line, because it's never going to be a settled matter until it's settled. There's a difference. Like I said, I'm not against reparations at all. I'm against this docile, tail-tucking mentality that some folks have. Like we're begging for mercy from the heck we're begging. No, man. I'm just saying, who are they? Who are these people? Like one religious brother put it. They got to go to the bathroom too. They got to blow their nose too. When they die, their body deteriorates into dust too. So who are they for us to be sitting and needing to feel like we got to kiss their behind just to get anywhere? No, make some room for me. I'm here. Make some room. If I get on the bus, make some room. You understand? One of them seats is for me. Make some room. That's all I'm saying. And when I sit in that seat, however a person gets treated from the space that they occupy, that's the treatment that I want. Equal treatment. I'm not asking for nothing special. I'm not asking for a special treatment unless I warrant it. Unless what I'm doing warrants special treatment. If I'm doing something that raises my standard based upon human virtue, give it. Give it up. I'm going to need that too. Go ahead and put that right here. Sign right there. But no tail tucking, family. I'm telling you, I've had debates with these badge words before. I refuse to talk like I'm trying to appease and win favor of. You don't like what I'm saying? What are you gonna do? Like I said the other day, got pulled over. Here I am going on. Got pulled over. I knew these people were following us. Got pulled over. Brother don't like a lot of drama, so I like to park over here in an open public parking spot where everybody can see. I know there's camera, all this is all there, so if anything go down, there's plenty of viewers to observe. They had a problem because they couldn't see my temporary tag, and I immediately grabbed me a Reese's cup because I wanted to emphasize the fact that I'm not bothered by your presence. You can be there as much as you want. What are you here for? If there's a law or whatever, we go. Fine. I don't have no problem with being law abiding. But I'm eating my Reese's cup. Like, sit there. Man, if the visuals, just me eating my Reese's cup, like, oh, this is a tasty, delicious Reese's cup. Like, oh, what do you want? That's kind of the mentality I had. What do you want? What are you here for? Can't you see I'm preoccupied with the delicious taste of my Reese's Pieces cup? What do you want? Come on, hurry up because I don't have all day. This stuff melts in my hand. And I wanted to melt in my hand. I wanted to melt in my mouth, like I said on the package. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and break down to him. He says, "Well, we couldn't see. I didn't know you had a temporary tag." I said, "It's right there." So I couldn't see it. Is there a way you could put it on the back where the plate goes? I said, "There isn't, because if I do that, then it rains, it gets wet and soggy, then we got a problem." So it's back there where it's nice and dry. You just have to look a little closer so you can see it. But it's there if you want to see it for your convenience. So once all that was settled and done, I he I just went right back to my Reese's cup like I'm sorry, but I had to do it that way because I don't like to feel I don't like anyone trying to make me feel inferior to them or make me feel like they're greater than me or over me in some way. You understand? I respect honest, serving, and protecting job. Make it okay. I couldn't see your tag. That's something that's problematic. Fine, we get that. There may be some legitimacy in that legally or whatever. But once you've gotten what you came for, go about your way. I go about my way. All the matter is clear. You understand why it's there, why it's like that. Matter is clear. Nothing else to talk about. Separate ways, like men, like adults. Nobody tucked their tail. Nobody had to, you know, bob and weave or nothing. Go our separate ways. That's to me. That's being an adult. That's being respectful to each. I felt like he was respectful. I'll give him that. I felt respectful that he was being respectful. You know, he was of those folks. I felt he. Yeah, I was sitting there. I wish I could. If I had a clip or something, it would have made the moment like a little meme. I made a meme out of that. But that's just how I am. I mean, I've had I've had an argument with one of them guys before, just because they were trying to get me to how can I put it, to they were trying to belittle me in a way, and I just like, no, what do you mean? What do you? I'm not going to be this person that you're expecting me to be. I'm not going to be that kind of person. You think that this is how it should be. That's your problem. But you knocked on my car door window, so the real me is who you get. Sorry about your luck. Try the next car. Maybe your gamble will come through. But this particular car, guess who's inside? Quest Man. Anyway, let me quit because I'm not saying that to be like arrogant or foolish or something. I believe you have to be wise. I believe you have to be strategic in how you move. But I'm just saying, um, you hold on to your values no matter what. You understand? I would have rather, if that was my final moment, you can know that Questman went out and he did not tuck his tail. He did not become docile in the face of an aggressor. That would be how the story was written. It won't be, oh, he whatever. I don't know, man. These are things that I believe spiritually, philosophically, like in every part of my body. I think let's see here, because I'm doing a lot of talking. We're gonna have to. This is page 72. This is page 72, and that number has some type of significance. 72. Let's pause here on page 72 at the top paragraph, because we got quite some ways before we get to where those three lines are at. That's on page 76. But there, I'm just saying, family. I understand that some people get timid. They get kind of uneasy about stuff like that. Sometimes these folks make you nervous, especially nowadays more than ever, because you don't know what their angle is going to be. And for me, the strategy is to be able to refocus my mind state, where if it could be afraid, where because I'm a human being. I can be afraid, I can be frightened, I could be angered, I could be excited. All these things, all these human emotions, I can experience. I do experience myself. um but you learn how to be able to redirect those feelings. If you're afraid, you learn how to, okay, I'm afraid. I don't want this enemy knowing that I'm afraid. I don't want him. You don't even. I know that what the case is. I don't want him knowing it. Go ahead and hand me another Reese's cup. You understand? Give me the whole bag. Um, I'm just saying, there's ways to not let your enemy see you sweat. You understand? There's ways and this is why I don't believe in cowardice. I don't believe that a person should ever be a coward, because there's ways to acknowledge what you got going on, your fears, And there's ways to keep your ground, stand your ground without what do I want to call it? There's a term for it. Without oh man, it's right there. Well, basically, without tucking your tail, without becoming docile, without flipping the script. You understand? Um, I mean, and I've been through quite some things in my life, man. I've had confrontations with folks that you know it wasn't looking good for Brother Quest. Man, like, man, I don't know about these dudes. They look like they they could do a number or two. But you'd be surprised when you hold your ground, when you remain um with self control, that even sometimes your worst enemy will respect you. That's what I'm trying to get at, and I've experienced that where even when find myself in a situation that don't look like it's good, the next thing you know, the enemy notices that I'm like, this is a real brother. Like, yeah, I could have told you that, before you got out of your car, I could have told you that, I was real. Could you just go back to your car now? Um, I'm just saying, they end up, you end up finding that even an enemy respects authenticity over hypocrisy, over fakeness. Even an enemy tends to respect authenticity. You understand? Um, that's how you end up with certain enemies that like we like. Okay, your enemy, my enemy is the same enemy. Let's join together and fight that enemy. Something like that. I mean, that's how these things happen because they recognize that, hey, you are really about what you say you're about. You understand? You are about what you say you're about. I've had, like I said, um, and I'm kind of going on at this experiences where I've encountered like people who were on some of that supremacy stuff, right? And we've had intellectual debates and all that kind of stuff, but we've also had situations. I've had situations where um there were heated differences of opinions and heated just experiences all around. And I remember talking to one guy like, look, in my opinion, we both want the same thing. I don't want nothing to do with you. You don't want nothing to do with me. I ain't trying to chase your ladies. You ain't interested in my ladies. I ain't trying to whatever you trying to do over there, I ain't got nothing to do with. You understand? In fact, I'm about that type of life where, you leave me alone, I'm gonna leave you alone. You ain't we this right here isn't even necessary, right? Because it's clear that neither of us like one another. So what are we even here for? You want to find, for me, it's clear that if you cross the line and bother one of mine, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have to deal with something. And I would imagine the same would be for me. I'm just saying it's conversations like that your enemy end up like, dang, he's one of those. Okay, he's one of them. Like, yeah, I'm one of those. Do you go your way, I go my way. Lakum dinakum waliya din, as we say in the Quran, right? In the Deen. To you be your way, to me be mine. Um, and for the most part, I don't deal with that. I don't suffer that drama. At least from those types. Most of the time in my life, when I've experienced blatant racism, it be from ignorant folk that just don't know better. Because you got the folks that just assume that they got you, they know you, they got you figured out. You get out the car, you get out your house or whatever, and they just know what kind of a person, what kind of a Negro you are, until they find out the hard way. Because some of us, I mean, like I said, there's a sting, there's a certain sting, and that you get that sting, and it's like you don't have any other reaction but the reaction of seeing that enemy face on the ground. And you're not satisfied until that enemy's face is on the ground. And as soon as the enemy's face on the ground, steam goes away. Like, oh, okay. What time was? Oh, shoot, I'm late for work. Gotta go to work. My bad. Let me help this brother. Help this dude up. I dust him off. Give him a bottle of water or something. I don't know. He needs something. But I'm just saying, family, that it'd be those type of scenarios. But like I said, in most of the cases, my experiences with like blatant, like people who are just in your face trying to see you ruined, racist, be ignorant folks that just don't know any better, that just don't know, that just don't get it. Or if it don't be those, I can recall it'd be ones that are way over their head, full of themselves. You understand? See, I have a self pride of my origin, of my ancestry. I don't have no shame about. And the more insight, the more learning I obtain about it, the stronger those that resolve that sense of self-worth, self-pride gets. But it never makes me feel like that another person who may not share that same ancestry should not. I believe that if they're not to exist, that the natural order thing is going to take them out of the picture anyway, whether they get burnt up, vapor, whatever the case may be. The natural order of things, the Most High, the divine, the truth will eradicate what is false. Truth will eradicate falsehood in whatever form it manifests. That's what I believe. So I don't believe that I need to be hostile towards anyone unless they're hostile towards me and mine. You understand? Or I feel that they could be hostile. I'm saying feel, meaning I have a sense that they're strategizing against of hostilities towards me and mine. That's the others. That way you have the right to preempting an attack if you have proper knowledge. That's another matter. Those are laws. Those are divine laws we're talking about there. It's just that I'm talking somehow I got into this conversation, but I'm talking about the experience with dealing with like the different types of races you might encounter. Like I said, you got those who they want pretty much what you want. They just want to be able to be their own people, live their own life, operate as their own people, as basically their own nation of people, and don't want nothing to do with you. What are you doing here? They don't want you. This is my restaurant. I don't want you. I didn't open this restaurant for you. I opened this restaurant for my folks. Okay, I get that. I don't want your scrambled eggs anyway. They runny. I'm going out. I don't want to go to this place anyway. Open up my own restaurant and show them how the eggs are done right. Or at least show my folks how the eggs are done right. You understand? Like, how we know. My point is, integration isn't for everybody. And perhaps even separation isn't for everybody. But when people, a significant number of people desire to be separated from another people, that should be respected. We should never, I don't believe that one group of people should force another group of people to coexist with them against their will. And that's what's happening to many of us. We've been forced to coexist with another people against our will, and never, as of present, allotted the time or the opportunity to be disassociated, 100% disassociated, and given our own free will to decide whether or not we would like to continue to associate or remain disassociated. We haven't been given that. So you got the type of races that they don't want nothing to do with you. They ain't trying to hunt you down, ain't trying to do this, that, or the other. They just don't want nothing to do with you. Leave us alone, leave our women alone, don't touch our girls, don't touch our boys, don't do none of that. Just leave us alone. Then you got those who are still kind of in that group They want to be left alone. They'll do business with you. If you're the only doctor in town, you know, they'll come and knock on your door and pay you your money, you pay you your wages or whatnot, and then go about their business after the transaction's made. You got those. Then you got those who feel like they're better than you and that you should not exist, or that you are supposed to be a slave. You're supposed to be subjected to their authority. That's just the way it's supposed to be. You got those. And these are probably the worst of all of them, because the one will leave you alone, but they're still an enemy, because if the horn is called, they still have the potential of joining the ranks of all the other, because they're not going to go against their own people. You understand that? At the end of the day, they're not going to turn on their own for your sake. You understand? They're for their own people. They're not going to turn on their own for your sake. But you got these people who you aren't the height of evolution. They believe that they're the height of evolution, that they are what it means to be a human being, and everything else under their fictitious evolutionary theory should be subjected to their authority, to their rule. And if not, then you deserve, their wrath. So you got those. Then you got another group of those who feel like, because of who they think they are, you understand, that the world should be populated by them alone, which means you need to be out of the picture. So you got some of those. And you got some of those who are ignorant. They don't even have a philosophy. They don't even know why they don't like you. They don't even know what the beef, what that philosophical beef is all about to begin with. They were just taught that if you look like you look, they gotta hate you. They just gotta hate you. They gotta be on the hate squad. But the thing about all of these cases is these are all elements of people who, in some form or fashion, have an aspect of them that's in power. And it's only because of them being currently in power that they're empowered to be racist. If you remove that power, the only enemy they would really have is the sun. And the only that be, I mean, and what kind of fight are they going to give the sun? There'd be nothing they can do. But what's interesting to me is that being masters of deception, masters of bloodshed, masters of mischief, I wonder that if all these traits were removed from said people, if it even be possible for them to exist. I'm in my thoughts right now. But because sometimes it's like trying to remove the like, let's say you've got meat of a certain animal, that the meat in and of itself is poisonous. You can't cook it out. You can't separate it from the meat, because the meat itself is is the contaminant. So no matter what you do, it's part of what it is. You can't separate the two. You can't separate it. So you just have to avoid consuming it altogether. You don't have to take my word for it, because if you look at matters on the world scale today, I keep asking people, has their behavior changed? 500 years of us being in this land under their knee, have they changed? I'm not talking about a minority I'm talking about as a majority, as being in positions of authority and stuff all across, have they changed? Um, and if they haven't, if they're still doing the same thing, like even to this day, you see the same acts of deception going on. They're deceiving even each other in their own warfare. You understand? Playing little trickery tactics and whatnot in their own warfare. I'm just saying, what's the difference? The only difference between now and then is the maybe certain methods, certain tools that are used. But I still see the same wickedness taking place, the same corruption taking place, the same bloodlust, bloodthirst, again and again and again. I just, what I would, if I had a wish in regarding this matter, it would be not just that we see these things, but more so that we see ourselves for who we really are, and in so doing, restore a sense of empowerment that we'd be able to protect ourselves from this ever happening again. I'm saying that because, like I said, it's not about, like I said earlier, I believe that nature would take its proper course. That which is not natural to this world would be eradicated naturally by the divine um we call it divine imperative or whatnot. um it would be eradicated somehow, some way, whether through the laws of nature, through conflict, through whatever it be. It will be removed because that's the nature of when something that's not natural is in is existing in the natural world. The natural world's immunization system takes effect. So, so-called natural antibodies, so to speak. The natural global antibodies take effect. But in the same token, the natural bodies that exist here have to be restored mentally, spiritually, physically as well. Because isn't that the objective of an antibody in your system? That once your body develops an antibody to a virus, it now has developed a system which can protect it from that same virus from ever being able to attack it ever again. That's what we have to have as a people. We have to be able to develop a state of mind, a state of conscience, a state of being, that this same enemy could never manifest the same evils upon us ever again. Ever again. That's the kind of spiritual antibodies, mental antibodies, physical antibodies we have to start developing amongst ourselves as a people. And somehow it almost seems like that's the whole point, is to be able to that we had this experience. You understand that we had this experience, and for whatever we are to experience next in our state of existing, we got to face this devil. When you understand, when you think about what it means to exist in the different levels of being, it makes sense that we had to deal with this enemy. We had to go through this heat. We had to fight this fight, because there's something out of this experience that could never have been gained any other way. I mean, what would be the worst? I mean, think about it. Isn't that not the worst enemy you could have ever encountered? One that manifests in your own likeness, not you, but manifests in your likeness, meaning upright, walking, human, talking, thinking, feeling, seeing, so on. And then, absent of morality, absent of virtue, because of the absence of these, has no problem with shedding your blood, has no problem with spreading mischief and deception, has no problem spreading corruption, because these innate human features aren't there. Or if they are, they're in less quantity or quality, if you would. Anyway, I'm just reflecting here. I'm just reflecting. I'm just reflecting because I believe that that everything, there's reason behind it. That there's nothing existing that's existing in a random way. You understand? In some kind of like look, here it is. No, but this is something that we had to go through. Because if you can recall that those who came before us amongst our ancestors who initiated this path to begin with knew something that the rest of the people, the rest of the ones of wisdom didn't know. They knew something that everyone else didn't know. So I'm wondering, like, when we do obtain the next level of existence, what out of this experience would we have taken with us that would become useful in the next stages of being? What out of this experience? Because we're this you gotta think of what infinity means, what immortality means, what it means to not cease to exist, that you keep on existing, albeit in greater or lesser form. Anyway, none of this is in vain, family. None of this is in vain. None of this is um by chance. And we're not in a situation that is inevitably uh against us in some way. I believe that um we will be successful. All the divine books ascribe to this. The results of all kinds of sincere thought reveal this. You can't think that to oppress a people for 500 years plus will go unchecked, unanswered. Like, this would be something that someone could just do and just get away with, and there's no consequence. You can't think that that's how, you know, the laws of existence works. It doesn't make any sense that it will work that way if what goes up must come down. In everything, in every aspect of life, you see that there's certain uh, consistencies in the law. There's certain things that this is how it works. It's how it works. So just like what goes up must come down, you oppress a people. You understand? You oppress a people, you have to be held to account. You'll be held to account. This this is not a a one-way road that has no effect. Another law, cause and effect. You do this, this happens. If you do this action, this is the effect. You've enslaved, you've destroyed, you've corrupted, you've severed, you've cut off an entire nation of people. An entire, not nations of people, because we were so many different tribes and communities. We're one people in one sense of what it is that we are. What it is that we are before 60,000 years ago. But we've become many different cultures with many different ideals of life and things like that, that I would say only have the appearance of being different. But somewhere in there, there's a commonality, whether it be from Africa to America to China. I believe that all of our ancestors had some things that tied them and linked them all together, and the differences are only because tend to only be because of the areas where we ended up occupying as we lived upon this globe. If you look today, you see that same thing going on. I mean, even when you like think about our use of the English language here. I'm talking about the melanated, the black populace in the United States. Then think about the black populace in Britain and their use of the English language. And then go somewhere else where the same language is being used, and you see that we're doing something different with it. Something different is going on in our experiences with it and what it means and whatnot. So, checks and balances, family. That's why there's an old saying, the God conscious, the conscious people have nothing to fear. The people of wisdom have nothing to fear. The people of truth have nothing to fear because they're fully aware that the laws must manifest. That's why you see that the enemy now is working overtime to win your hearts and minds. Enemy devil don't want to go alone, don't want to go down alone, so to speak. They don't want to suffer alone. So come along, suffer with us. They is what they want. We don't want to suffer alone. And if you look on so many different levels, either trying to win your heart and mind to for you to be lost in the sauce with them. Some of them are trying to save their own behind, hoping that somehow if they become a friend of yours, that wrath will pass them over. Like, see, I was nice to one of the black peoples. I was their friend and everything. So don't count me in with these, don't count me in. But the thing about wrath is you can say what you want, but truth recognizes truth, real recognizes real. And in the face of truth, you won't be able to lie. In the face of real, you won't be able to be fake. Everything will be so crystal clear. There's nowhere to run. Even your shadow will expose you. Anyway, family, make sure you go to the shops on Soul Journey of Life and get yourself some of the latest nature's teas. And let's see here. Yes, indeed. Soul Journey of Life, the shops. And get yourself some nature's teas. And soaps and pretty much whatever else. But definitely, I kid you not, you will love this tea, especially those of you who travel abroad and whatnot. Those of you who appreciate traditional flavor, traditional style, things like that, you'll love nature's teas. yours to be had at the Shops on Soul Journey of Life. That is true. Creams, lotions, um, and the thing that you'll notice about the products on Soul Journey of Life is we delve into natural. You understand? Things that are, not corruptive to your body, not, uh, you know, with contaminants and ingredients you don't even know why what it has to do with the product itself. So yeah, it's all there. It's all there. We want to just like we want to keep it real amongst each other. We want to keep it real with our body, our mind, and our soul. We want to keep it real, keep it healthy. The old slogan back in the days of a Soul Journey of Life was keep the mind, body, and soul alive, healthy, and happy. Alive, healthy, and happy. That was the original slogan of Soul Journey of Life, and in many ways it still is. But now, as you can see, the new slogan: "Our unity is in the business." Our unity is in the business. By the way, if you have not subscribed to Soul Journey of Life, the Conscious Black social media, after we get off this live, such would be a good time to do so. Just doing a little bit of last minute promotion. Yes, indeed. If you have the minute to do so, yeah, go subscribe to Soul Journey of Life, the Conscious Black social media, and make it your social media platform. And it'll be good that you do that. It's our place to share what matters to us. You understand? It's our place to share what matters to us and talk what matters to us. All your standard features that you would expect from a social media platform is all there. Private messaging, video messaging, voice chat, all that kind of stuff is there. Group chats, group messaging, group video. Y'all want to keep chasing Zoom and all this other stuff when you have Soul Journey of Life, and you could do the same and more. Plus, there's some pretty cool games as well. Okay. Well, family, I did all that to bring us up to the third hour, which is a good stopping point that I try to bring us to. I appreciate that you like, share, and subscribe, and that you show your support to supporting the platform with the Cash App, the Light Dome. Also, that your brother Quest Man only hopes for the best for the family, and that we remain not only unified, but also, elevating in thought, elevating and improving our perspective of the world we live in, keeping the light on. That's why we do what we do here. You understand? Yes. It's weird because now I'm looking at the seconds tick down like, man, this is the longest minute to get to 3 hours ever. When you want to get that time, it's like time just slows down. I'm like, come on already. 3 hours. Anyway, family, it is that time. This is your brother Abdul Dude, aka Quest Man. This was just another live with Soul Journey of Life, Conscious Black social media. Salam alaikum, shalom, peace and blessings be with you. Have a blessed rest of your day. Have a blessed rest of your time. Take care, dear family.
wake-up call. Soul Journey of Life, Conscious Black Social Media. The light dome.
Bye.